Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today is December 28th, 2020. We'll call this meeting to order at 7:34. Can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez? Here. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navis-Barza? Here. Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Nice, I tell you, that weekend, you'd think it was a long weekend, that went by fast. I want to extend a couple of condolences this evening, too. Certainly, Chief Szynski, your mom passed away the other day, Chief. Our condolences, and hope your family's doing well then, too. And also, we heard about Joe Jolivet passed away, 24-year trustee. And I saw Joe just a couple of years ago and stuff, but I didn't know he was not feeling that well lately. So again, our condolences go out to the Jolivet family as well then too. Before we start our reports this evening, Dan Tribin's not here with our water commissioner, but I want to extend a big thanks to him and his crew over the weekend, as Murphy's Law would have it. Of course, we get a water main break right on Christmas night, and on Route 83 near Parkside Street. And Danny was explaining, we had a meeting this morning, and Dan was explaining, I want to thank the crew that came out, as well as, Cal City Plumbing came out to fix that. The break was reported like 6 o'clock at night, like on Christmas night, and it probably took about 4 hours to do all the locates because there was a NICOR high-pressure gas line directly next to our water main and stuff then, too. So cutting this thing was a chore. And then I was explained to me that Water Reclamation actually built a berm right over the thing, too. So we had to move a berm as well as fix a water main. And Danny said they didn't start working until probably 10 o'clock at night. It took them until 5 in the morning to resolve the matter. So thank you very much to everybody that was involved with that. I always want to acknowledge, I mean, you get a nice long weekend, and if nothing else, of course it's going to happen on Christmas night. You know, of course, you had nothing to do that night and stuff then, too. So, also, what else I have in here? I'm going to discuss with the board next month, probably at our committee meeting next month. I'm starting to pass out liquor licenses right now. Those are going to be issued to all of our businesses by December 31st. I have talked to a couple of the business owners because there's many of them are closed right now. If let's just say, for instance, if they were like gaming cafes and so forth, too. And certainly we understand the struggles that they've had to endure with the state closing the gaming right now. Nobody is, certainly they're not making any money. Their employees have been laid off or furloughed and so forth, too. But I would like the board to consider a possible discount for all the time they lost this year when they repurchase their stickers next year. Those are due May 1st. So we'll talk about, what's fair and so forth too, but I'm going to talk about that next month. And it's just on their stickers. Everybody paid full price for their liquor license renewals, but I just want to talk about gaming stickers is all I want to talk about. So. First on your agenda this evening, I had on here, I had a good discussion last week with our Finance Director, Joyce Tucker, and we were discussing the necessity for the board to decide whether or not they want to, what I had on your agenda, I'll read what's on the agenda, was a request to have the village compensate employees for COVID-related quarantining with supporting documentation for up to 80 hours. And I had per calendar year, but we were issued a letter today that actually states this can go till March 31st, Joyce. So we're going to correct that to read March 31st. And so it would start January 1st, being Friday, and going till March 31st, 2021, is basically, this would mirror the FFCRA. It's the Families First Families First COVID Relief Act. So what we received today and what I just gave to all the trustees was an update that was published just today saying that President Trump signed the original relief bill into law on December 27th, 2020. Employers can now continue to receive federal tax credit for allowing employees to take unused Families First COVID Relief Act paid sick and family leave through March 31st, 2021. As we've discussed in previous posts, and this is basically from the person who posted, the FFCRA requires that private employers with less than 500 employees and certain public employers to provide employees with 80 hours of paid sick leave for specified reasons related to COVID-19 and up to 10 weeks of paid job-protected leave for employees who have worked for their employer at least 30 days and who are unable to work due to the need to care for a son or daughter whose school is closed or the unavailability of a child care provider due to COVID-19. Since the FFCRA's effective date of April 1st, 2020, the Department of Labor has provided multiple questions and answers and regulations, all with the understanding that the bill expires at 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, 2020. Until now, employers have been left to guess if the COVID Relief Act would extend into the new year or if Congress would pass a new piece of legislation redefining the COVID relief in the workplace. On Monday, December 21st, 2020, lawmakers decided they would not extend the COVID Relief Act, but instead would allow employers to decide if their company will continue to provide paid leave and therefore be eligible for a payroll tax credit. As currently drafted, this option is available until March 31st, 2021. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I did highlight this does not mean that employees are entitled to additional leave on January 1st, 2021 in excess of the FFCRA statutory limits. So I was just conferring with Joyce, and Joyce, if you want to maybe grab a microphone, I should have put the stand-up one in here, but if we're understanding the same thing, I'm just asking for your interpretation here too. This is just a continuation of what would have expired on December 31st, correct?
Correct.
This is nothing new. So if you've already received this benefit where you got your 80 hours, this doesn't roll over into next year.
It's not.
All this is an extension of what was. And if we allow, thank you. If we allow this to be extended, the village would have to pay. In other words, we're not getting reimbursed for this, correct?
We never got reimbursed for this.
I thought
Payroll, we never got reimbursed. Is this on?
you got to put it right up to your mouth, Joyce.
Tax
Sorry.
credit.
I'm sorry. The tax credits, right?
I don't think it's
Tax
on.
credit we have been receiving. And we
Right.
would continue to receive it if we elect to do this.
Okay. You got to hold that button for a second, Murph. Till the green light pops on. Now let it go. Just use that, Joyce. Thank you.
So we have been receiving the Social Security part of FICA as a tax credit.
There you go.
So we have not been paying that
Lincoln Road.
if someone has gone out
So
because of
COVID
COVID or because of quarantining, and they get up to 80 hours. That will stop on December 31st. We can choose to continue to do this and still receive that tax credit.
Steady. Yep.
It's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. We have budgeted for those payrolls. Okay, so it's not an additional expense to us, and we would receive the tax credit. Or you can choose not to do it. It's 6 of one, half a dozen the other.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, we've actually budgeted for this.
Yeah. We budgeted
Well, we
the
budgeted for
payrolls
payroll,
already.
right.
Right.
But payrolls are already budgeted.
Right.
We already expect to pay those payrolls. So that's not like it's going to be an additional burden. The other side of that is if you refuse to pay these people, if they have COVID or have to quarantine, what's going to happen? They're going to come to work sick. Do we want that? I don't know. I mean, that's what makes this a decision for you guys to make, because it's not an easy, clear-cut answer to this. So.
Yeah, I'm going back to the conversation we had last week, like Friday when I put this on was, I'm sorry, Wednesday, whatever, it was such a long weekend. But the big thing, like you said, and I agree, that first we thought it was the whole year, when in fact it's only a 90-day extension is all this is. So.
How many of our employees would deem essential employees?
We did not furlough any employees through the last, through the shelter in place, all that kind of thing. Everybody worked.
Makes sense if they're essential employees, continue the benefit through that time.
Yeah, if we were creating, if this was additional cost, obviously I can see where this would be a problem, because we didn't have this 90-day term until just this afternoon. So again, we were of the impression this might be a whole year's worth, which would be a game changer for us yet too. So
And it may extend. They're already talking about Department of Labor putting more guidelines in about this. So this could change, as usual with COVID. It changes hourly sometimes.
yeah, because the draft that we received on Wednesday didn't have the same language in it. This just came out just this afternoon. So yeah, that's really all we're talking about here, is just extending what was for an additional 90 days, and that's it. If you took advantage of this program already, there's no...
You can't do it again.
You can't do it again.
No.
Right.
That's why it says in here to keep good records.
Right.
Because you can't let someone do it twice.
Right.
So the other part of this is that Social Security savings, and this is a very rough figure. Don't quote me and write this down as fact, but it looks like we have saved approximately $50,000 in Social Security due to COVID. So that's kind of significant, which we would not get if we didn't offer this benefit. So.
Okay.
Now, Joyce, one question. Are the 80 hours coming out of employees' sick banks, or is this just an
No.
extra? Okay. Just wanted clarification.
No, they're not using their benefits. We are paying them regardless. And I think Shanae verified for me that she does get paperwork
Yes.
indicating.
That's right. I was confused how I said it was being reimbursed. We're not being reimbursed. It's a tax credit, so I stand corrected.
It is,
Right.
yes.
But yes, that's Trustee McLaurin. That was always the deal where we were still paying an employee that they can be off for up to 80 hours with supportive paperwork. If they had a quarantine because their spouse tested positive or something like that, they were good for 80 hours, and that was it for it was actually until the 31st, which is what we're talking about here, is just extending the same benefit for 90 days.
Correct.
Any questions? Okay. Well, I'll put it to the agenda next week then to get board approval on something else then too. And I appreciate Roger, you and Becky today getting me this paperwork, because I still had something from Wednesday that we were deferring to. So obviously this is a moving target too. So thank you for taking care of that today too. And that's all I have for tonight. We have the clerk's report.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. The first four are representations for approval of old minutes that were They were presented back in 2018, but they weren't voted on. So it's the approval of the minutes from December 17th, 2018, Truth and Taxation meeting, which had been previously presented at December 26th, 2018. The approval of the minutes for the December 26th, 2018 meeting, which had been presented on January 14th, 2019. The approval of the minutes from January 14th, 2019, which had been presented on February 11th of 2019, and the presentation of the February 11th, 2019, which had been presented on February 25th, 2019. Again, they were presented, but they weren't officially voted on. Next are 4 new sets of minutes. All the minutes for the board are current through the December meeting, which will be, the December meetings will be presented next week. and the committees are all done and on my desk, but because of the numbers that we've been allowed to present, they've been taking some time. So we have presentation of the minutes of January 13th, 2020, presentation of January 27th, 2020, and then the two latest committee, the last committee meeting, which was December 14th, and then the Truth and Taxation from December 7th are the most recent.
So then the committee meeting minutes that you're looking for approval, which is number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
These were all previously presented but had not been voted on.
All right. Then can I get a motion and a second, please, to approve number 1, 2, and 3, and 4?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We're doing that tonight?
Yes, that's just on the committee meetings. The other ones were presented for approval next week.
Okay.
Could I make the request to have the first two separate? Because I wasn't on the board and I would like to abstain. Or how would we go about that?
I
Sure.
can just make a note that you abstain from 1 and 2 when,
Okay.
when it comes
You weren't
time.
there for 3 or 4 either.
Yeah,
You're right. You weren't here for
these
any
are
of
so
those.
old.
Yeah,
I'm
so
losing
old.
track of the dates. It's like 2021 in a couple of days. So January 14, 2019, I wasn't on the board either, or February 11th, 2019.
So you'll
So
just
pretty much all
abstain
four.
from the board,
Yeah,
from that vote.
Because I was
Okay.
sworn in May 2019.
Right. Roll call number 1 to approval of minutes of the December 17th, 2018 Truth and Taxation meeting, which had been previously presented for approval on the December 26th, 2018 committee meeting agenda. Approval of minutes of the December 26th, 2018 committee meeting, which had been previously presented for approval on the January 14th, 2019 committee meeting agenda. Approval of the minutes of the January 14th, 2019 committee meeting, which had been previously presented for approval on February 11th, 2019 committee meeting agenda, and approval of the minutes of the February 11th, 2019 committee meeting, which had been previously presented for approval on the February 25th, 2019 committee meeting agenda. Roll call number 1 to approve. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navas-Barza.
Abstain.
Thank you. And then I did follow up with Joyce on 2 things today that, Mayor, you had sent an email a couple weeks back verifying that the tax ordinance had been submitted, and she has confirmed that that is done. And then there's, in the past, there's a treasurer's report that comes out that is generally published in the Mount Greenwood Express and then is followed up and posted on the website. And the one for fiscal year 20 hasn't been done yet, and they are working. Kent had done it in the past, and when it was presented, it had varied between October or December of the past years. I was just following up on last year's, and she's working on it and will present it when.
Can I comment?
Sure.
Yes, we have, the numbers are almost there, should be there tomorrow morning, but in reading the statute, it looks like I need to present it to the board before I can publish. So that will happen, I'll do it in committee on the 11th and then to the board on the 19th, and then we'll get it published after that. And deliver a decision.
Right.
Okay.
It should have been done a long time ago, and I realize that. But I think with the changes that occurred this year, I think that they're very willing to give us some.
Everything's been extended, Joyce. I agree. Yeah. Thank you. All right.
And that is all, Mayor.
So we've reached the public forum. Did anyone in the audience wish to address the board tonight? Nobody? Then we'll go to standing committee reports. Finance and IT, Trustee McLaughlin.
Okay, first I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week. Next, we'll have a request for approval to accept the attorney's recommendation to file an intervention in the 2019 tax year PTAB appeal of 19-40573, Premcor Refining Company at 13101 South Kedzie. There are a total of 9 pins out of the 134 pins that make up this property. that are located in the village of Alsip, and there's $28,483 at stake for those 9 pins. Next is a request for approval to accept the attorney's recommendation to file an intervention in the 2019 tax year PTAB appeal of 19-40802 Commonwealth Edison property at 4847 West 111th Street. Looks like we have $20,465 at stake on this one, and the village intervened in this one in 2018 as well. Approval to accept the attorney's recommendation to file an intervention in the 2019 tax year PTAB appeal of 19-40806 Leonian Enterprises at 4350 West 129th and 12701 South Costner. Looks like we have $47,371 at stake here, and the village intervened in this one in 2018 as well. And then finally, discussion of proper uses and reimbursement against the clothing allowance allotted per the AFSCME contract. I say everybody in their packet, I made sure to include the exact verbiage out of the union contract, as well as information from our employee handbook, which all employees have. Basically, when it comes down to here, I mean, per the union contract, clerical personnel are required to wear a shirt or top bearing the Village of Alsip logo while on duty. We have been lax on that requirement. People are not wearing the logo shirts every day, which, not going to debate that issue, but the uniform allowance is specifically to cover the cost of those clothes. So in my opinion, when employees are buying clothing that is not acceptable attire for wearing to work, it's not something we should be reimbursing. And I said I'm bringing it up at this point in time because the most recent submission for reimbursement does not meet the requirements of our employee dress code, as outlined in the employee policy manual. Roger, I'm guessing you have something to say on this?
I don't know how that didn't meet the requirement because it did bear the Village of Alsip logo on it, and I did approve it.
Specifically within the handbook, it says they are not allowed to wear sweatshirts, hoods, leisure suits, spandex, exercise clothing. So
None
the
of
fact
which
that
was
we're talking
approved, though.
about T-shirts and hoodies for office personnel.
It was a designer, it had a loop, like 4 loops with and then a gray in color with a very light hood on it. Very appropriate, at least in my opinion. I mean, if you guys want to be the fashion police, I'll be more than happy to bring them in, but it was approved by me. I didn't have any issues with it. It was a professional setting, at least in my opinion it was, and it is, according to the CBA, supposed to be approved by the department head, which I did approve.
Me.
So, I wasn't aware, I only saw the bill. Obviously, you manage your own folks, Roger, so I was out of the loop on this. I only saw an invoice at last week's meeting where Trustee McLaurin was deferring to an invoice regarding a hoodie, and I spoke to Supervisor Erica. She's on vacation this week, but I talked to her on Wednesday night, and she said it was a zip-up, more or less, instead of wearing like a sweater, it was kind of a zip-up hoodie is what she was referring to. She said it was acceptable. I don't know if there was actually criteria, like what you were just reading, Trustee, I don't know if there's actually criteria to say if it's a pullover or if it's a zip-up, but she said that was a zip-up and she felt it was acceptable. And I just got that Wednesday night before she was, we were talking to her before she left for vacation, so.
Yeah, there's multiple employees, but if it's for my employee that was denied, I physically looked at the what was given, because that's what the directive is. So I looked at it and signed off on it.
Okay.
Okay, but the policy does specifically say no sweatshirts and no hoods except for religious purposes.
just says exercise, from what I'm reading, it says exercise clothing, including sweatpants, sweatshirts, sweatsuits, leisure suits, and spandex and shorts, which
And,
clearly that wasn't it, but
well, if it's a sweatshirt, then it's a sweatshirt.
it's not like a sweatshirt material. It's similar to what I'm wearing. But it had a hood on it, and it had a white strap, like with holes so that it crosses the neck and ties at the top.
All right, I was told this is up, so we're talking about two different things, so.
That's it, but the one item here says hoodie, denim.
I didn't see a hooded denim hoodie, so.
I mean, that's specifically what the invoice says.
Again, I did not see a hooded denim or a hoodie made out of denim.
So again, we certainly, even in clerk's department, your department, I certainly never, I don't check clothing like that daily and that kind of thing unless it really stood out for any reason. But, so I wasn't apprised of what you two are talking about here. I haven't seen the actual outfit or the sweatshirt, or if it's not a sweatshirt, I haven't seen the actual shirt you're talking about. We need to have some type of a compromise here, though. Obviously, if you have a difference. Trustee, can I ask you, is there more than one item that you're referring to, or is it just that one?
No, there are two specific, as I specifically identified as hoodies on this particular item. And then another two T-shirts.
Does the fire department wear T-shirts as a regular course of their uniforms? This is clerical.
This is,
I know, but I'm just
Yes.
saying.
but this is a specifically separate clause within the union contract talking about non-union, or union clerical, sorry. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up.
I think we need to, I wouldn't mind, I mean, I know this is a committee setting, and so to revisit this in a couple weeks at the next committee setting is fine, but I don't mind reviewing just to say what's acceptable. If you're going to, like, as trustee's saying, if T-shirts are out, so be it, they're out, that kind of thing then too. But if we can define a list, please, that we can just as a reminder what is expected of the attire, I think that'd be appreciated.
According to the CBA, it says clerical personnel are required to wear a shirt or top bearing a Village of Alsip logo while on duty. For clerical employees, the uniform allowance maximum is $200. Clothing items for clerical employees must be displayed an approved Village of Alsip logo in a contrasting color to the clothing and must be approved by his or her supervisor,
All right,
which it was completed.
okay. I'm going to say you fulfilled that then too.
Isn't this a discussion you should have with the department heads, Mayor?
Sure. I didn't know we were going to this extent. Like, that's what I'm saying. Nobody included me in this conversation. So, that's trustee's got a point. We can talk about it tomorrow. But I think more importantly is your points made, Trustee McLaurin, that we need to adhere to whatever what the uniform is. But I would agree. Let's talk about it tomorrow and just take a look at what's expected. And again, I can appreciate the fact what you said. You are the supervisor. You did approve of the shirt in question, and it's not provocative or in any nature or anything like that then too. So it's just we want to keep a good uniform code here is all. Okay.
I understand completely.
Okay. Thanks, Raj.
That's
Mayor?
all I have under finance.
Okay. Yes.
I'd like to go and talk about items 2, 3, and 4, the PTAB.
Right.
According to this, it says the village has intervened in 2018. I looked over my past agendas, and I haven't found anything on this. What was the result of that in 2018?
Is this something that we did with the school district?
It's exactly this. Basically, what we do is we have how would the agenda reflect? I mean, in other words,
Oh, it's on the agenda this time, so I figured it might have been in the past, because it can come up at any time over a 2-month period or 3-month period in any of those years.
Well, I tell you, like any PTAB appeal, you can appeal these things at any time. But this, you're looking at number 3. And first off, number 2. Number 2 is the approval to accept the attorney's recommendation to file an intervention in the 2019 tax year. So that's last year's taxes. It doesn't say anything about being on here in 2018. Number 3 says approval to accept the attorney's recommendation to file an intervention on the 2019 PTAB. The village intervened in 2018, same triennial. So again, maybe all they're doing is still challenging. Maybe they didn't win last time, they're going to try again, that's all. And the same thing with number 4 is it's quite possible they didn't win. I don't have 2018's agendas with me to actually, which date was it, trustee? Here, let me write this down.
Well, actually, I'm just asking about these 3. If these 3 companies are these the only ones that we're filing appeals to intervene on?
It's the only ones that came, yeah, these are the only people that are challenging our taxes at this time.
Okay, because I've never seen anybody really challenge, well, I've been in the last 3.5 years, except, you're saying that they did this in 2018, or that we intervened in 2018. I didn't see it.
People challenge these all the time. We probably get at least a half a dozen a year, if not more.
Okay, now, has anybody reached out to like school district 120 or 126 or 130 to see if they're challenging it already?
We're only concerned about ourselves, but the same attorney that represents District 218 high schools, we actually share the expense with them because they've already got an attorney involved with that, and I think we're only paying 10% of that yet, too.
Right, that's generally what we do, is school districts are the ones who will save the most out of this.
Right.
And by coordinating the effort, it costs each of us less.
Right.
Oh, so we're doing it in conjunction with the school districts?
Yeah, and the board agreed to do that probably 3 years ago. We agreed that is to have them represent the village as long as they're in court anyway, and so it doesn't make sense for us to hire an attorney when they've already got one.
Well, right, I just didn't want to, to be redundant, to have our, pay our attorney if we can ride the coach.
Oh, no, we haven't done that in 2 years or more. Did you want to say something, Joyce? Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. So in speaking to the attorney about this, there's 3 companies that seem to always file an appeal. And I'm sorry, I don't have their names right now, but thank you, yes. Yes. Those seem to be always the ones that file the appeal. The attorney presents to us what she feels is going to be the best for us. It's not wasting our money. So we're not going after somebody that's appealing $1,000. We're going after a certain limit. So that's why these are the ones that are on this list. There's criteria that has to be met first.
And like I said, we probably get 6 to 10 of these things a year from different organizations yet, too. So, okay. And as you said, too, Joyce, these are frequent flyers. These are folks that challenge all the time. Much like a lot of the times when we're talking about tax incentives for businesses, we see many of the same tax attorneys coming into our room where they're promoting their services as well, too. So, Trustee McLaurin, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Fire Committee, Trustee Murphy.
I have a discussion to amend the Village Ordinance, Chapter 9, Section 2, Article 18.2, and we have Chief Krasinski.
Trustees.
You don't want to be a trustee.
All right. A couple years ago, NFPA changed the title. We always had Fire Officer 1 since we've been doing the promotional process for, 30-something odd years now. The Office of State Fire Marshal, in conjunction with the NFPA, changed the title to Company Officer Operations now. And who knows, in the future it will change. So what I propose is changing to Fire Officer 1 or equivalent. Some of the candidates still have Fire Officer 1. Some of the future candidates will have the new one. So just to make it even across the board, be Fire Officer 1 or equivalent. The second part is there's always been discussion, what is the cutoff for seniority to be able to be eligible to take the promotional process. So the last couple of times we've agreed between myself and the union to make it at the date of the written exam. So just so it's across the board, I want to have it part of the ordinance as well. And I don't remember what the last time the ordinance was amended. It's been quite a few years. So just to bring it up to speed of what we've been doing for the last couple cycles. And also will mirror what's in the Fire Police Commission rules also.
So Chief, one more time, what is a Fire Officer 1? I'm just making a quick note.
Fire Officer 1 is the amount of classes they need to have a certification. So they're required to have 5 classes. So it's a combined total of 200 hours, and that brought them to the certification of Fire Officer 1. So just to keep up with the new title with the State Fire Marshal, it's equivalent to that.
Is there any significance to it?
No, it's just a title change, that's it.
Okay.
So I want to add the word equivalent, so every time they change it, I don't have to keep coming back. Or whoever's in my position in the near future won't have to keep coming back.
Yeah, saying the new language looks much cleaner.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, another cool title.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just a title change.
Consolidating
That's
everything
it.
on too. All right.
And we have discussion on status of fire information.
Right. So if I've noticed the last couple of months, I haven't been submitting any NIFRS reports or what are for our fire reports or our total of calls over the last several months. FEMA controls NIFRS, it's National Incident Fire Reporting System. They crashed their system several months ago. It was supposed to be up and running back in November. It is still not up and running, so that's why we don't have any current stats right now. We're waiting to see if there's any update. We thought it would be done by the end of the year. It hasn't. I'm sure they're going to be pushing it soon because that's also some of the requirements for some of the FEMA grants as well as our State Fire Marshal grants. So hopefully it'll be up, and then it's going to affect our annual report also. So when it's up and running, we'll send everything back and catch up with everybody at one time frame. So,
Okay.
so thank you.
I may ask, Chief Stuzinski, will you
Yes.
have the attorney then send the amended ordinances?
Yes, I'll speak to, yeah, I'm doing the same thing now. Attorney Kankar this week for the language change to be put on the board meeting for Monday.
Okay, we'll need to receive it by Wednesday.
Okay, no, I'll reach out to the attorney tomorrow. One other question I do have is who is responsible for updating the ordinances on our website? Because a lot of them haven't been updated in 2 years.
Unicode is submitted monthly.
Okay.
And it should trigger to update automatically. I can follow up with Brian Massari when he's back. He's been on vacation.
Because I know there's at least 2, if not 3, ordinances that we've changed just on the fire side that never been updated on the website.
I'll check with Brian Massari in the morning.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Sure.
Chief, we got kind of a short meeting. Could you hang around? I want just 2 minutes with you before you take off.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks.
And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Police and Traffic Safety, Trustee Dozal.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Public Work and Boat Launch, Trustee Juarez.
No report.
All right. Sewer and Water, Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you for the update that you made earlier, Mayor, about the water main break.
Sorry, did I
It was
steal it?
unfortunate.
No,
No,
okay, yeah.
it's okay. It was unfortunate
All
that it
right.
happened, but I have no report other than that this evening.
You know, I'll tell you something very quickly. I had a conversation a couple Thursdays ago when that new quality pressure wash opened up, and they weren't aware, but they certainly appreciate, and so did all the other businesses over on Springfield Street, when we did those water main improvements over there too. We're going down Springfield and around to Pulaski.
Yes.
Really made a difference in fire service over there. And Danny told me today that once we did those tap-ons and so forth, you know, everybody's got much more pressure than what they used to have. And when we go out and do annual tests, Dan was telling me that today that what's the
ABC?
ABC, thank you.
Yes, that's the huge one that made a huge,
Yeah.
huge difference to us.
That's what he said. He goes, they've got their own fire hydrants and all that out there. He says, usually they'll run those hydrants down to where they've only got 20% use. He said they got 3 times that now and stuff then too. So it really made a difference. And I signed off on the last invoice that you folks are signing off on tonight for the work that was done through the contractor. But they did fix all the asphalt to what we liked, and everything's good to go. But they did a great job, Swanson Construction. Not Swanson, who's that contractor? I don't remember. They did a good job. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, thank you. Next, Building and Health, trustee Zelinski.
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right. Human Resource and Insurance, trustee Murphy.
Other than the update on the COVID, there's no report, Mayor.
And thank you for the elected officials tonight. We all completed our sexual harassment training, so thank you for participating in that tonight. Special committee reports, Economic Development, trustee Navas Farza.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of the efforts that I led this year related to the census outreach. The timeline that the Census Bureau provided us kind of lets us know that they're going to start delivering data or population counts to the President's office for apportionment as required by law. I'm not sure if that deadline has shifted from December 31st as the target deadline or maybe a little bit later. But then by next year, we should know pretty much the impact of what our 2020 census response rate has for our community. 2020 census response rate went up by 3.1%, and hopefully that translates to more monies and funding to fund projects in the areas of roads, education, police, and fire. So we'll have a better sense of what that'll look like next year. Also, redistricting happenings as well, and that also changes different representative bodies that we have that might change for our village or might not. So yeah, that pretty much is my update for the Economic Development Committee in regards to census outreach. And I just want to thank all the department heads and staff that pretty much helped with those efforts this year. The impact is going to be great. Next year we'll see what that'll look like for our community. And that's my report.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks. What do we have next? Village Property, trustee McGlowhorn.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Roger, unfortunately, the clubhouses are still closed too, right?
That is correct.
All right. Next, ordinance and legislation, trustee Zelinski.
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right. Planning and zoning and licenses, trustee Juarez.
I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated December 16th, 2020 through December 23rd, 2020. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Under presentations, petitions, or communications, one, I want to just remind everybody, this is our last meeting for 2020. Wish everybody a Happy New Year. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and hopefully we have a better 2021 than we did this year and so forth then too, with everything being slowed down the way it was and so many lives. I saw something today that said something like we lost almost 16,000 lives in Illinois that they deemed COVID-related too, so that's horrible. And certainly we sympathize with all the families affected by such, and many more things too. It would take all day to go through everything else that happened this season. But also at the, we did share a message today from Joyce Tucker as well. Joyce, we're going to talk about at the January 19th committee meeting, we're going to have a discussion on the ability for us to, again, offer a surplus to the taxing bodies through the TIF, Pulaski TIF.
We're going to put that on the 11th committee meeting?
11th, okay, I said
Discuss
the
it on the
19th.
11th,
Okay,
yeah.
that'll be on the 11th committee meeting.
You're welcome.
I'm sure all the taxing bodies will appreciate that. We're going to, you said we're good for $100,000 to offer back to the other schools and parks and everybody? Okay.
And when it came down to is we had a $600,000 surplus, and we've been doing $100,000 a year. This will now be the third year of doing it.
Very good. And then the other was, I actually did something, what was that, Christmas? It must have been Christmas Eve. Roger, when we were out here in the parking lot with Channel 2 News, was that Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, the whole weekend was a blur, but I got a quick phone call from Channel 2 News Christmas Eve. They were doing a follow-up to the U.S. Postal Service thing, so I did a piece with them out here in the parking lot, and fortunately the calls have dwindled down. We used to get as many as a dozen calls a day. Now we might get one or two, which, you know, they picked it up. Everything on the dock has been cleared up over there and so forth, and I'm still seeing everybody working 7 days a week, which we can all appreciate. So again, let's be patient with our postal service, but it seems like they're picking it up. And most of the stuff I said to them, they don't put, you know, they chop that up to what they need for their meeting and stuff. But again, I'll stand by my position that I just believe the U.S. Postal Service is overwhelmed. You know, that they took on contracts with DHL, FedEx, and even Amazon. And, you know, they have enough fun just delivering mail and stuff then too. So I really think that's the problem, why they fell so far behind. Did anybody else have some communications or anything?
Mayor, we did have one more from fire, that the video cameras are up and running at
Oh.
Station 1.
Good.
They're installed.
Okay.
My only reminder is that Village Hall is closed on Fridays, so the draft agenda will come out on Wednesday, and the final agenda will come out on Thursday.
Very good. Any unfinished business? Any new business?
Yeah, Mayor, can we get we haven't had an update in a long time on any of the pending litigations against the village. Is there a way we can get a closed session or something to get some updates on that?
I don't think we have any. We got one. There's one case, yeah. So I can send an email on it or whatever, but, yeah, but,
However you'd like to do it.
yeah, I think there's only one that I know of.
All right, thank you.
Can I get a motion then to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Again, Happy New Year, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. We'll adjourn this meeting at 8:20.
Happy New Year.